In the shadowed halls of Ironbridge Barracks, nestled amid the misty English countryside of 1932, a chill wind whispered secrets through the iron gates. Colonel Reginald Hargrove, a man of iron will and sinister repute, sat alone in his opulent office, the flickering gas lamp casting elongated shadows on walls adorned with medals of forgotten wars. His hand trembled as he sipped from a crystal decanter, his face contorting in sudden agony. "Mon Dieu!" he gasped, though no one heard. By dawn, the door, locked from within, was forced open by his aide. The colonel lay slumped over his desk, lifeless eyes staring at an empty poison vial. Whispers spread like fog. Accident, suicide, or murder? The great Hercule Poirot, summoned from London, arrived with his impeccable moustache and piercing grey cells, ready to unravel the enigma that gripped the barracks in fear. Chapter 1. The Summons to Ironbridge. The train rattled through the emerald folds of Shropshire, its rhythmic clatter a counterpoint to the sombre mood within the carriage. Hercule Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective with a moustache as impeccable as his reputation, sat by the window, his sharp eyes scanning the misty countryside of 1932. The fog clung to the hills like a shroud, whispering secrets of the land. Beside him, Captain Arthur Hastings, his loyal friend and chronicler, fidgeted with a crumpled copy of the Times, his brow furrowed with unease. "Poirot," Hastings ventured, breaking the silence. "This case at Ironbridge Barracks sounds peculiar, don't you think? A colonel poisoned in a locked room? Reminds me of one of those dreadful penny novels." Poirot's lips twitched into a faint smile, his fingers adjusting the brim of his Homburg hat. "Mon cher Hastings, the truth is often more peculiar than fiction. A locked room, a poison, a man of power dead, c'est magnifique. The little grey cells, they tingle with anticipation. Tell me, what did Inspector Jenkins write in his urgent telegram?" Hastings fished a crumpled note from his pocket, squinting at the scrawl. "Colonel Reginald Hargrove, found dead at his desk, door bolted from within, cyanide suspected, no signs of struggle, key inside, no duplicates, suspects aplenty, motives murky, requests your expertise at once." Poirot nodded, his eyes gleaming like polished agates. "A locked room, you say? The door bolted, the key inside, and yet a man is dead by poison. This is no accident, Hastings, nor, I suspect, a suicide. The grey cells, they whisper of murder. Clever, calculated, and cloaked in mystery." The train screeched to a halt at Ironbridge Station, a quaint platform dwarfed by the looming silhouette of the barracks on the hill. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of coal smoke and wet earth. Inspector Harold Jenkins awaited them, his face a map of worry beneath his peaked cap. A burly man in his 40s, Jenkins had the weary air of one accustomed to routine crimes, not the enigma before him. "Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings," Jenkins greeted, shaking their hands with a grip that betrayed his anxiety. "Thank heavens you've come. This business with Colonel Hargrove, it's shaken the barracks to its core. He was a hard man, feared more than loved, but to die like this, it's unnatural." "Unnatural, you say?" Poirot's voice was soft, probing. "Tell me, Inspector, the details. Every detail, s'il vous plaît. The scene of the crime. It speaks to those who listen." Jenkins led them to a waiting car, its engine coughing in the chill. As they drove toward the barracks, he recounted the grim discovery. "It was dawn yesterday. The colonel's aide, young Private Willis, went to deliver the morning reports. The office door was locked as usual. Hargrove was paranoid about security. Willis knocked. No answer. He fetched the master key, but it wouldn't turn. The bolt was thrown from inside. We broke the door down. There he was, slumped over his desk, eyes wide open, a vial of what the doctor says is cyanide beside him. The room was untouched, windows latched, no sign of anyone else. Poirot leaned forward, his cane tapping the floor. "And the key, Inspector? You said it was inside?" "Yes, on the desk under his hand. Solid brass, unique to his office. No duplicates per the quartermaster. The lock's a custom job. Only one key fits." Hastings frowned. "Sounds like suicide, Poirot. Locked himself in, took the poison. End of story." Poirot's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Ah, Hastings, you leap to conclusions like a hare. Suicide? It is possible, oui. But why wipe the vial clean of fingerprints? Why the absence of a note, so common in such acts? No, no, the little grey cells protest. There is a puzzle here, and I shall solve it." The car wound up a gravel path to Ironbridge Barracks, a fortress of grey stone that loomed against the fog like a medieval relic. Its iron gates creaked ominously, flanked by sentries who saluted stiffly. The parade ground was eerily silent, save for the distant bark of a drill sergeant. The fog seemed to swallow sound, lending the place an air of foreboding. Jenkins escorted them to the officers' mess, where a fire crackled in a massive hearth, doing little to dispel the chill. Over tea, he introduced the key players in this grim drama. Colonel Hargrove was a tyrant, ruled the barracks with an iron fist. His wife, Lady Amelia Hargrove, claims she was tending her rose garden when he died. Alone, she says, though no one saw her. Captain Elias Thorne, his second in command, was drilling troops on the East Field, but one soldier swears he slipped away for a spell. Sergeant Major Victor Kane, a brute with a long grudge, was in the armory, or so he claims. And then there's Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, signals officer, sharp as a tack, but she and Hargrove had a row the night before, loud enough to wake the dead. Poirot sipped his tea, his moustache quivering as he absorbed the names. And their motives, Inspector? A man like the Colonel. He collects enemies as others collect stamps. Jenkins sighed. Thorne's ambitious. Hargrove blocked his promotion over some gambling debts. Kane's got history. Hargrove demoted him years ago for insubordination, humiliated him publicly. Lady Amelia, well, their marriage was cold. Whispers of inheritance disputes. As for Blackwood, no one's sure. Something about signals equipment, but it felt personal. They proceeded to the crime scene. Hargrove's office, a sanctum of oak panelling and military relics. The broken door hung ajar, police tape flapping in the draught. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the ghost of death. The Colonel's desk was a mahogany behemoth, strewn with papers, a crystal decanter, and a box of Belgian chocolates, one missing. The gas lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced like spectres. Poirot knelt, examining the floor. No scratches, no signs of forced entry beyond your efforts, Inspector. The windows, latched, you say? Double-checked, Jenkins confirmed. Iron bars outside, too. Poirot approached the desk, his gloved fingers hovering over the vial. Wiped clean, you said. Curious. And these chocolates, Belgian, no? A rare delicacy here. Who supplied them? Jenkins shrugged. No idea. Hargrove had a taste for the finer things. Poirot's gaze lingered on a photograph. Hargrove, stern and imposing, beside a pale, elegant woman, Lady Amelia. A man of control, this Colonel, but control breeds rebellion. Hastings, inspecting a bookcase, called out, Poirot, look here, a hidden panel. He pressed it, revealing a small safe. Jenkins frowned. First I've seen of that. Locked, naturally, Poirot mused. The contents, they may tell us much. But for now, let us observe the barracks. They stepped into the courtyard, where soldiers marched in rigid formation. The fog thickened, muffling their boots' cadence. Poirot paused, sniffing the air. There is something unnatural here. Not supernatural, no, but a tension, a secret waiting to be uncovered. A young private approached, saluting. Sir, begging pardon, but there's talk of a ghost. The men say Hargrove's spirit walks the grounds. Seen him near the old tower. Poirot chuckled. Ghosts they do not poison, private, but fear, it clouds the mind. Tell me, who saw this apparition? The private hesitated. Sergeant Kane, sir, last night, near the office window. Jenkins scoffed. Superstition nonsense. Kane's stirring trouble. Perhaps, Poirot said, or perhaps it is a distraction. The mind, it plays tricks, but the truth, it hides in plain sight. They toured the barracks, noting the layout. The armoury, signals room, officers' quarters, and Lady Amelia's rose garden, its blooms wilting in the fog. Poirot stopped at the garden's edge, spotting a lady's glove, muddied and discarded near the office window. Interesting, he murmured, pocketing it. A clue or a careless mistake? Back in the mess, Poirot questioned the staff. A maid confirmed Lady Amelia's garden alibi, but her eyes darted nervously. A cook mentioned Thorne's late-night pacing, and a guard swore Kane lingered near the office after hours. Blackwood, when pressed, admitted to a heated exchange with Hargrove, but refused to elaborate. As evening fell, the barracks grew oppressive, the fog a living thing that pressed against the windows. Poirot retired to the guest quarters, but sleep eluded him. He sat, notebook in hand, sketching a timeline. The poison, swift yet timed. The locked door, an illusion. The key is the heart of it. Hastings yawned. Poirot, you're making it complicated. He locked himself in, drank the poison, died. Simple. Simple? Poirot's voice was sharp. No, Hastings. The vial, wiped clean. The chocolates, one missing. The glove, the safe, the ghost. These are threads in a tapestry. Someone wove this crime with care. A sudden scream shattered the silence, echoing from the parade ground. Rushing out, they found a soldier pointing at the fog. There! The Colonel's ghost! A shadowy figure in a greatcoat stood by the tower, then vanished. Poirot's eyes narrowed. No ghost, but a message. Someone wishes us to fear. Returning to the office, Poirot examined the chocolates again. One wrapper bore a faint smudge. Lipstick. He sniffed it, detecting a floral note. The feminine touch, perhaps, but whose? Jenkins reported a new find. A forged letter in Thorne's desk, implicating him in a plot against Hargrove. It's in the Colonel's hand, Jenkins said, but the ink's fresh. A red herring, Poirot declared. The murderer plays games, but Poirot, he does not lose. As midnight struck, a note slipped under their door. Justice for the sinned against. Poirot's smile was grim. The game, it escalates. But the little grey cells, they are ready. The fog thickened outside, and somewhere in the barracks, a shadow moved, unseen but ever present, as the mystery deepened. Chapter 2. Interrogating the Widow. The drawing-room of Colonel Reginald Hargrove's quarters at Ironbridge Barracks was a study in faded grandeur, its heavy velvet drapes absorbing the dim light of a November morning in 1932. The air carried the cloying scent of wilted roses, their petals curling in a silver vase on the mantelpiece. A portrait of the late colonel loomed above the hearth, his stern eyes seeming to follow every movement. Hercule Poirot, seated in a high-backed chair, adjusted his gloves with meticulous care, his moustache quivering as he observed Lady Amelia Hargrove. She sat opposite, a vision in black mourning silk, her delicate hands clutching a lace handkerchief as though it were a lifeline. Her pale face, framed by auburn curls, betrayed a tremor of grief. Or was it fear? Captain Arthur Hastings stood by the window, peering into the fog that cloaked the barracks like a conspirator. Inspector Harold Jenkins, hovering near the door, shifted uncomfortably, his notepad clutched like a shield. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the faint tick of a grandfather clock in the corner. "Madame Hargrove," Poirot began, his voice soft yet piercing, "my deepest condolences for your loss. The death of your husband, it is a tragedy most profound. But to unravel this mystery, I must ask questions that may pain you. You will permit?" Lady Amelia's green eyes flickered, meeting his briefly before darting to the portrait. "Of course, Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice trembling like a violin string. "I want justice for Reginald. He was difficult, but I loved him." Hastings coughed, exchanging a glance with Jenkins. Poirot noted it, but pressed on. "Tell me, madame, of the night your husband died. You were in the rose garden, oui? Alone, as you told the inspector." She nodded, dabbing her eyes. "Yes, I often walk there in the evenings. The roses, they calm me. I was pruning, tending to my favourites, the crimson damasks. No one was with me." "No one?" Poirot's tone was gentle, but his eyes were sharp as a hawk's. "The garden. It is near the Colonel's office window, is it not? Did you hear anything? Voices, perhaps, or the sound of distress?" "Nothing," she replied too quickly. "It was quiet, save for the wind. Reginald liked his solitude in the evenings." Poirot leaned forward, his cane resting across his knees. "And yet, madame, a glove was found near that very window. A lady's glove, muddied, as if dropped in haste. Yours, perhaps." Her hand froze mid-dab, the handkerchief crumpling. I lose gloves often, monsieur. The garden is muddy this time of year. It means nothing." "Perhaps," Poirot said, his smile enigmatic. "But let us speak of your husband's enemies. A man such as the Colonel, powerful, commanding, he collects adversaries, no?" Lady Amelia's lips tightened, a flash of steel beneath her fragility. "Reginald was strict, yes. Captain Elias Thorne resented him bitterly. Reginald blocked his promotion over some foolish gambling debts. Thorne was furious. I heard them argue last week, shouting in the mess hall. And Sergeant Major Victor Kane, Reginald demoted him years ago for insubordination. Kane never forgave him, always glaring, muttering threats. Hastings interjected, his voice earnest. "And what of you, Lady Hargrove? Forgive me, but was your marriage harmonious?" Her gaze dropped to her lap, fingers twisting the handkerchief. "No marriage is without strain, Captain. Reginald was a hard man, consumed by duty, but I endured. For the estate, for our name." Poirot's eyes lingered on a faint bruise peeking from her sleeve, half hidden by lace. "Madame, a bruise upon your wrist. Recent, I observe. A gardening mishap?" She tugged her sleeve down, her voice sharp. "A clumsy moment with the shears, nothing more." Jenkins cleared his throat. "Monsieur Poirot, we've confirmed Lady Hargrove's alibi with her maid, Eliza. She saw her in the garden, though not precisely at the time of death." "Précisément," Poirot murmured, stroking his moustache. "The time of death, cyanide. It acts swiftly, oui? The doctor places it between 9 and 10 o'clock. And yet the Colonel was alone, the door bolted, the key inside. Tell me, madame, did your husband have visitors that evening?" "Only Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood," she said, her tone cooling. "She came to discuss signals equipment, some technical dispute. They quarrelled, loudly. I heard it from the garden." Poirot's eyebrows rose. "A quarrel, you say? Most interesting. And the Belgian chocolates on his desk. One missing, I note. A gift, perhaps? She hesitated, her composure fraying. I don't know. Reginald loved them, ordered them from London. I never cared for such sweets. The clock struck 11, its chimes reverberating like a warning. Poirot rose, bowing slightly. Merci, madame. You have been most helpful. We shall speak again. As they left the drawing-room, Hastings whispered, Poirot, she's hiding something. That bruise, it's no gardening accident. Patience, Hastings, Poirot replied, his eyes gleaming. The heart of a woman, it is a labyrinth, but the truth, it leaves footprints. They ventured to the rose garden, a patchwork of blooms struggling against the fog. The office window, barred and latched, stared down like a blind eye. Poirot knelt, examining the earth where the glove had been found. Mud, yes, but no footprints match a lady's shoe. Curious. The glove, it was placed, perhaps, to mislead? Jenkins joined them, holding a report. The key, monsieur. It's unique, as I said. The quartermaster swears there's no duplicate, and the lock's intact, no tampering. Poirot's gaze drifted to the barracks tower, where the private had claimed to see the colonel's ghost. Inspector, the supernatural, it is nonsense, but distraction, that is real. Someone wishes us to chase shadows. They returned to the office, where Poirot examined the desk anew. The decanter gleamed, half full of amber liquid. The chocolate box embossed with a Brussels crest held 11 pieces, one conspicuously absent. Poirot sniffed the wrapper, detecting a faint floral note like Lady Amelia's perfume. A clue, or another deception, he mused. Hastings, rummaging through papers, found a ledger. Look, Poirot, Hargrove's accounts. Large sums to a bookmaker, tied to Captain Thorne. Debts unpaid. Bon, Poirot said. A motive for Thorne, perhaps. But the poison, it required access, precision. Who knew the colonel's habits? They questioned the staff further. The maid, Eliza, nervous and pale, confirmed Lady Amelia's garden routine, but stumbled over details. Her story wavering like a candle in the wind. A cook mentioned seeing Lieutenant Blackwood deliver the chocolates days earlier. A peace offering, she called it. A guard reported Kane's late-night presence near the office, checking inventory, he claimed. As noon approached, Poirot requested a tour of the armory, where Sergeant Major Kane worked. The cavernous room smelled of oil and steel, rifles gleaming in neat rows. Kane, a hulking figure with scarred knuckles, eyed them warily. I didn't like Hargrove, he growled, but I didn't kill him. I was here, cleaning weapons, till midnight. Poirot noted a vial in a corner, similar to the one on Hargrove's desk. Yours, Sergeant. Kane's face reddened. Never seen it. Someone's framing me. Jenkins bagged the vial for analysis. No prints like the other, he muttered. The fog thickened as they returned to the courtyard, the barracks' stone walls closing in like a trap. Poirot paused, his cane tapping rhythmically. The pieces, they do not yet fit. The glove, the chocolates, the vial, the key, all threads, but the pattern eludes. Hastings shivered. This place feels cursed, Poirot. That ghost story, Kane saw something last night. Non, Hastings, Poirot said sharply. A ghost does not wipe fingerprints. A ghost does not forge letters. But a human, clever, desperate, they do. As dusk fell, the barracks grew restless. Soldiers whispered of the ghost, their voices low and fearful. Poirot dismissed them, but a chill ran through him when a scream pierced the fog. Rushing to the source, they found Private Willis, pale as death, pointing to the tower. It was him, the colonel, in his greatcoat, staring down. Poirot climbed the tower stairs, Hastings and Jenkins trailing. At the top, They found only a discarded cigarette, still smouldering, and a scrap of paper fluttering in the wind. Poirot retrieved it, reading aloud, "Justice for the sinned against." Jenkins cursed. "Kane's work, stirring panic." "Or another's," Poirot said, pocketing the note. "The murderer plays a dangerous game, taunting us." Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The glove points to Lady Amelia, yet the earth betrays no footprints. The chocolates, Blackwood's gift, but Amelia's scent. The vial, Kane's domain, yet clean of prints. And the key, unique, yet the door was locked. A paradox, Hastings. Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. "Maybe it's simpler, Poirot. She poisoned him, slipped out, and he locked the door before dying." "Non." Poirot's voice was a whip crack. "The timing, it is wrong. Cyanide kills in minutes, not hours. The poison was administered earlier, perhaps at tea, perhaps in the chocolate. And the key, it is the heart of the illusion." A knock interrupted them. Jenkins entered holding a report. "The vial from the armory. It's cyanide, same as the other. But no prints, and the armory's open to all officers." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Then we widen the net. Tomorrow we question Thorne, Blackwood, Kane. The truth, it hides in their lies." As they retired, the fog pressed against the windows, and a distant howl echoed. Animal or something else? Poirot closed his notebook, his mind racing. "The game, it is afoot, Hastings, and the murderer, they watch us still." The barracks settled into uneasy silence, but in the shadows a figure moved, unseen, leaving only the faintest rustle of silk in the night. Chapter 3. The Rival's Alibi. The mess hall of Ironbridge Barracks, bathed in the pallid light of a 1932 November noon, was a cavern of polished wood and military precision. Rows of tables gleamed under the scrutiny of gas lamps, their flickering flames casting restless shadows on the walls adorned with regimental banners. Hercule Poirot stood at the centre, his diminutive frame commanding the room as if he were a general inspecting troops. His patent leather shoes gleamed, and his moustache, meticulously groomed, quivered with anticipation. Captain Arthur Hastings leaned against a table, arms crossed, while Inspector Harold Jenkins hovered near the door, his notepad worn from constant use. Captain Elias Thorne, second in command to the late Colonel Reginald Hargrove, stood rigidly before them, his uniform crisp, his jaw set like a steel trap. His eyes, cold as the Shropshire fog outside, betrayed a flicker of unease as Poirot began to pace, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm on the hardwood floor. "Captain Thorne," Poirot said, his voice smooth yet piercing, "you were, I understand, a man with reason to resent the Colonel. A blocked promotion, debts unpaid, arguments overheard by many. Tell me, where were you on the night of his death?" Thorne's posture stiffened further, if such a thing were possible. "Monsieur Poirot, I had no love for Hargrove. None of us did. He was a tyrant, ruled this place like a king. But murder, preposterous. I was drilling the men on the East Field until lights out, 10 o'clock. Dozens of soldiers can confirm it." Hastings, flipping through a roster Jenkins had provided, raised an eyebrow. "Not quite, Captain. One private, Simmons, I believe, says you slipped away for a good 10 minutes around 9. Care to explain?" Thorne's face flushed, a crack in his polished facade. "A lavatory break, nothing more. I returned directly. Ask the others, they'll tell you." Poirot's eyes twinkled, his head tilting slightly. "A lavatory break, you say? Most convenient. But let us speak of motives, Captain. The Colonel, he held a debt over you, gambling, we? A sum that threatened your career, your honour?" Thorne's hands clenched at his sides. "He lent me money, yes, for investments that soured. I repaid what I could, but he used it to keep me under his thumb, blocked my promotion, said I lacked discipline. But I didn't kill him, Poirot. I'm no coward." "Non, non," Poirot murmured, his gaze drifting to a silver cigarette case on the table, engraved with Thorne's initials. "Courage, it takes many forms, but desperation, that breeds darker deeds. Tell me, did you ever visit the Colonel's office that evening?" "Never," Thorne snapped. "I was on the field, then in my quarters. Ask anyone." Jenkins interjected, his voice gruff. "We did, Captain. Private Willis saw you near the officers' quarters at 9:30, not far from Hargrove's office." Thorne's eyes narrowed. "Willis is mistaken. The fog was thick, hard to see faces. I was in my room by then." Poirot paused his pacing, examining a photograph on the wall. Thorne and Hargrove, years younger, in dress uniforms, their smiles strained. A rivalry, perhaps, not just professional, but personal? Thorne's voice dropped cold and sharp. "He was my superior, not my friend. That's all you need to know." Leaving the mess hall, Poirot led Hastings and Jenkins to Thorne's quarters. A Spartan room with a neatly made bed and a desk cluttered with papers. Poirot's gloved fingers sifted through them, pausing on a letter from a London bookmaker, demanding payment for debts exceeding £500. "Mon Dieu," Poirot said softly, "a sum to ruin a man. And yet, Captain Thorne, you claim repayment?" "It's settled," Thorne insisted, following them. "I borrowed from a friend. Hargrove had no hold over me by then." Hastings raised an eyebrow. "A friend? Care to name them?" Thorne's silence was answer enough. Poirot moved to a small trunk, lifting the lid to reveal a bundle of letters tied with string. One, in Hargrove's hand, threatened to expose Thorne's debts to the regiment. "A motive, Captain," Poirot said, "and a threat." They proceeded to the armoury, a fortress of steel and oil, where Sergeant Major Victor Kane worked. Poirot's earlier discovery, a vial similar to the one on Hargrove's desk, nagged at him. The armoury was vast, its racks brimming with rifles and ammunition boxes. A faint chemical scent lingered, not unlike cyanide. Poirot's eyes scanned the shelves, landing on a locked cabinet marked "Medical Supplies." "Inspector," Poirot said, "this cabinet, its contents." Jenkins shrugged. "Standard issue. Bandages, antiseptics. Cyanide's not kept here, but the vial we found was in Kane's locker, tucked behind some tools." Poirot examined the locker, now sealed with police tape. "No fingerprints, you said. Curious. A murderer who wipes evidence, yet leaves it to be found. A paradox, no?" Hastings, inspecting a nearby workbench, called out, "Poirot, look, a notebook." It was Kane's, filled with angry scrawls about Hargrove's tyranny. One entry read, "He'll pay for what he did to me." Grudge, Poirot mused, but not proof. We must question Kane further. They returned to the courtyard, where the fog had thickened, muffling the clatter of soldiers' boots. Poirot paused by the office window, recalling the muddied glove. The garden, the glove, the vial, all point in circles. Someone wishes us to chase our tails. Jenkins reported new findings. Whispers among the soldiers of a secret safe in Hargrove's office, rumoured to hold blackmail material. Lieutenant Blackwood knew about it, a private confided. She and the colonel argued over it the night he died. Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A safe, you say? Its contents may unlock this mystery, but first, let us test Captain Thorne's alibi." They interviewed the drill squad, a nervous lot under Jenkins' glare. Most confirmed Thorne's presence, but Private Simmons held firm. He was gone 10 minutes, sir. Maybe more. Swear I saw him head toward the officers' quarters. Fog plays tricks, another soldier countered. Could have been anyone. Poirot nodded, his mind racing. The fog, it is a conspirator, hiding truths. But the little grey cells, they see through it. As evening approached, Poirot requested a gathering in the mess hall. Thorne, Lady Amelia, Blackwood, and Kane, all summoned for tea. The air crackled with tension, each suspect avoiding the other's eyes. Lady Amelia's handkerchief fluttered nervously. Blackwood's fingers tapped her cup. Kane glowered. Thorne sat rigid, his gaze fixed on the wall. Poirot poured tea with theatrical precision, his voice calm. Mes amis, a murder has been committed, and each of you holds a piece of the puzzle. The Colonel's death, it was no accident, no suicide. The poison, the locked door, the wiped vial, these are the work of a mind most cunning. Blackwood shifted, her voice sharp. You're accusing us, Monsieur Poirot. Not accusing, Poirot replied, observing. The truth, it reveals itself in time. Suddenly, the gas lamps flickered, plunging the room into darkness. A gasp, a clatter of china, then silence. When Jenkins relit the lamps, a dagger lay on the table, its blade engraved with Hargrove's initials. The suspects froze, eyes wide. Who placed this? Poirot demanded, his voice like a whip. No one answered. Lady Amelia's hand trembled. Thorne's jaw tightened. Blackwood stared at the dagger as if it were a ghost. Jenkins seized it, bagging it as evidence. Another prank? Or a threat? Poirot's smile was grim. Neither, Inspector. A message. The murderer grows bold. As the group dispersed, Poirot lingered, examining the dagger's handle. No prints as expected. Hastings whispered, Poirot, this is getting out of hand. Ghosts, daggers, notes. It's like a blasted melodrama. Non, Hastings, Poirot said, his eyes narrowing. It is theatre, yes, but staged by a human hand. The dagger, it points to someone with access to Hargrove's possessions. The note, justice for the sinned against, suggests a personal vendetta. They returned to the office, where Poirot re-examined the chocolates. The missing piece nagged at him. Belgian, rare, a gift, he murmured. Who knew his taste? Blackwood admits to delivering them, yet Lady Amelia's scent lingers on the wrapper. A coincidence? Jenkins reported a new lead. A soldier saw Kane arguing with Hargrove days before, threatening to settle the score. But Kane's alibi, cleaning the armory, was backed by 2 guards, though their accounts wavered on timing. The alibis, they crumble like biscuits, Poirot said. But the key is the heart of it. A locked room, yet a murder. How? Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. Maybe he let someone in. They poisoned him and left him to lock the door. Poirot shook his head. No, the cyanide, too swift. He would not have time. The poison was administered earlier, perhaps hours before. The chocolate, the decanter. One holds the answer. As night fell, the barracks grew silent, the fog a suffocating blanket. Poirot sat by the fire in their quarters, sketching a timeline. Thorne's debts, Kane's grudge, Blackwood's quarrel, Lady Amelia's bruise, all motives, all tangled. But the method, c'est la clé. A knock interrupted. A soldier delivered a report. The armory vial matched the cyanide type, but its source was untraceable. Standard issue, accessible to any officer. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The net widens, yet the truth narrows. Outside, a shadow moved in the fog, a silhouette in a greatcoat. Hastings pointed, heart racing. Poirot! There, by the tower! They rushed out, but the figure vanished, leaving only a cigarette butt, and a faint whiff of perfume, floral, like Lady Amelia's. Poirot pocketed the butt, his mind racing. No ghost, Hastings, a provocateur. The game, it escalates. As they retired, the barracks seemed to hold its breath, the fog pressing against the windows like an accomplice. Somewhere, a clock struck midnight, and the mystery deepened, a web of lies tightening around Ironbridge. Chapter 4. Shadows of the Past. The air in Sergeant Major Victor Kane's barracks room was thick with the scent of boot polish and old grudges, a stark contrast to the refined elegance of Lady Amelia's drawing room. The walls, bare save for a faded regimental crest, seemed to close in as Hercule Poirot stood at the room's centre, his keen eyes scanning every detail. The year was 1932, and Ironbridge Barracks, shrouded in fog, felt more like a prison than a military stronghold. Captain Arthur Hastings leaned against the doorframe, his face etched with scepticism, while Inspector Harold Jenkins clutched his notepad, his pen poised like a weapon. Kane, a hulking figure with knuckles scarred from years of brawling, sat on his cot, his glare as sharp as a bayonet. "Monsieur Kane," Poirot began, his voice calm but laced with authority. "You do not hide your hatred for Colonel Hargrove. A demotion, years ago, for insubordination, a public humiliation, no? Tell me, what did he do to earn such enmity?" Kane's jaw tightened, his fists clenching. "Hargrove was a snake, Monsieur Poirot. During the Great War, I saved his hide, took a bullet for him in Flanders. And how'd he repay me? Caught me with a bottle of contraband whiskey, demoted me in front of the regiment, stripped my rank, my pride. I'd have wrung his neck if I thought I'd get away with it." Hastings raised an eyebrow. "Strong words, Sergeant. And that vial in your locker, cyanide, like the one on Hargrove's desk. Care to explain?" Kane's face reddened, his voice a growl. "Planted, I tell you. I clean rifles, not poison bottles. Someone's framing me. Thorne, maybe, or that Blackwood woman." Poirot's moustache twitched, his cane tapping rhythmically on the floor. "A frame, you say? Possible, oui. But the little grey cells, they wonder. Why your locker? And where were you, Monsieur Kane, when the Colonel met his end?" "In the armoury, working late," Kane said, his eyes narrowing. "Guards saw me, Corporal Davies and Private Holt, till midnight, cleaning and logging infantry." Jenkins flipped through his notes. "Davies confirms it, but Holt says you stepped out for a smoke around 9, near the officers' quarters, close to Hargrove's office." Kane slammed a fist on the cot. "A smoke, aye, but I was back in 10 minutes. Holt's watch is slow. Always has been. Check it yourself." Poirot's gaze drifted to a small photograph on Kane's desk. A younger Kane, proud in his sergeant's stripes, standing beside a stern Hargrove. A man betrayed, he carries a wound deeper than flesh. But murder, it requires more than anger. Opportunity, perhaps? Leaving Kane's quarters, Poirot led Hastings and Jenkins to the armoury, where the chemical tang of cyanide lingered faintly. The vial found in Kane's locker nagged at Poirot's mind. No fingerprints, like the one on Hargrove's desk. He examined the locker again, noting its lock. Simple, easily picked. "Anyone with skill could place it here," he murmured. "But why Kane? To divert suspicion, or to ensnare him?" Hastings, inspecting a rack of rifles, called out, "Poirot, here's something, a scrap of paper wedged in the corner." It was a torn note, scrawled in haste. "He'll pay, one way or another." The handwriting matched Kane's notebook. A clue, or another deception, Poirot mused, pocketing it. The murderer. They are clever, sowing doubt like seeds. They ventured to the courtyard, where the fog clung to the cobblestones, muffling the distant cadence of marching soldiers. Poirot paused by the office window, recalling the muddied glove. The glove, the vial, the note, all point in circles. But the safe in Hargrove's office, it holds secrets, no? Jenkins nodded. We cracked it this morning with the quartermaster's help. Found letters, blackmail it seems. One to Lieutenant Blackwood, threatening to expose an affair. Another hinting at Thorne's debts, and a third about Kane's past, some wartime scandal. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Blackmail, a motive most potent, but with whom did Blackwood share this affair? And why keep it hidden? They returned to the office, where the safe's contents lay spread on the desk, 3 letters, each in Hargrove's precise hand. The one to Blackwood was explicit, threatening to ruin her career unless she complied with unnamed demands. A lover, perhaps, Poirot said, or a professional betrayal? Hastings frowned. Could be Thorne. She's close to him, always whispering in the mess. No, Hastings, Poirot said. The heart, it is complex, but the evidence, it must guide us. They questioned the quartermaster, a wiry man named Gibbs, who confirmed the safe's secrecy. Only Hargrove knew the combination, he said. Blackwood asked about it once, said it was for signals records. Hargrove shut her down. Poirot's mind raced, piecing together fragments. The safe, the chocolates, the key, all connected. But how? As noon approached, they visited the signals room, where Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood worked. The hum of telegraph wires filled the air, a stark contrast to the barracks' gloom. Blackwood, poised and sharp-eyed, greeted them coolly. Monsieur Poirot, I've told you all I know. Hargrove and I argued about equipment, nothing more. Poirot smiled thinly. And the chocolates, mademoiselle. You delivered them, oui? A peace offering, the cook said. Her face tightened. Yes, but they weren't poisoned. I'd never. Poirot interrupted. The safe's letters suggest otherwise. An affair, perhaps, that Hargrove threatened to expose. Blackwood's hands trembled, but her voice held firm. You're fishing, monsieur. I've nothing to hide. Leaving the signals room, Poirot noted a faint smudge on Blackwood's sleeve. Floral, like Lady Amelia's perfume. A connection, perhaps, he whispered to Hastings, or another red herring. Back in the courtyard, Jenkins reported a new witness. A guard who saw Kane near the office window. At 9. Lurkin, he said. But the guard's watch, as Kane claimed, was indeed slow, by 15 minutes. Alibis crumble like biscuits, Poirot said, but the truth, it solidifies. They explored the barracks' history, prompted by whispers of a supernatural curse. A grizzled sergeant recounted tales of a betrayed officer from the Great War, said to haunt the grounds. Seen him myself, the sergeant muttered, near the tower, in a greatcoat like Hargrove's. Poirot scoffed. Ghosts they do not poison, but stories they distract. Someone uses this legend to cloud our minds. As evening fell, Poirot requested a meeting with Lady Amelia again. In her drawing room she was paler, her eyes red-rimmed. Monsieur Poirot, these accusations, they torment me. Reginald was cruel, yes, but I endured for the estate, for our name. Poirot's gaze lingered on her bruise, now more visible. Madame, the glove near the window, yours perhaps, and the chocolates, your scent on the wrapper. Her hand flew to her throat. I told you, I lose gloves, and I never touched those chocolates. A red herring emerged, a suicide note, found in Thorne's desk, in Hargrove's handwriting. My debts overwhelm me, it read. But Poirot tested the ink, fresh, not aged. A forgery, he declared. The murderer plays games, pointing fingers. Hastings, frustrated, whispered, Poirot, this is madness. Kane's vial, Amelia's glove, Thorne's note, Blackwood's affair. Everyone's guilty." "Non, Hastings," Poirot said sharply. "One is guilty. The others, they are pawns." As night deepened, the fog grew denser, wrapping the barracks in a suffocating embrace. Poirot led them to the tower, where the ghost had been sighted. The stairs creaked underfoot, the air cold and damp. At the top, they found a cigarette butt, same brand as the one near the note, and a projector lens hidden in a crate. "A prank!" Jenkins growled. "Someone's staging this ghost nonsense." "Oui," Poirot said, "but not without purpose. The ghost distracts, the note threatens, the dagger warns. The murderer is bold, yet afraid." Returning to the office, Poirot re-examined the safe's letters. The one to Kane mentioned a wartime theft. False, Kane later swore, but Hargrove used it to keep him in line. "Blackmail," Poirot said, "a web spun by a cruel man, but who cut the threads?" A scream shattered the silence, echoing from the parade ground. Rushing out, they found a soldier pointing into the fog. "The ghost! By the office!" A figure in a greatcoat darted across the grounds, vanishing into the mist. Pursuit led to a dead end, a locked gate, no footprints beyond. Poirot knelt, finding a dropped handkerchief, embroidered A.H. "Lady Amelia," Hastings gasped. "Perhaps," Poirot said, his eyes narrowing, "or another deception." Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The pieces, they align, yet twist. Kane's grudge, Thorne's debts, Blackwood's secret, Amelia's bruise, all motives but the method, the locked door, the wiped vial, it eludes. Jenkins entered, holding a report. "The armory vial, it's cyanide, but no source, could have come from anywhere." Poirot nodded. "The net widens, yet the truth narrows. Tomorrow, we press harder." As they retired, a distant rustle broke the silence. Footsteps in the fog, or merely the wind. Poirot closed his notebook, his mind racing. The murderer watches Hastings, but Poirot, he watches back. The barracks settled into an uneasy hush. The fog a silent accomplice as the shadow of the past loomed larger, its secrets waiting to be unveiled. Chapter 5. The Lieutenant's Secret. The signals room at Ironbridge Barracks buzzed with the faint hum of telegraph wires. A mechanical heartbeat in the fog-draped gloom of November 1932. The room, cluttered with radios and codebooks, smelled of ozone and wax polish, its walls lined with maps of military outposts. Hercule Poirot stood near a telegraph console, his sharp eyes fixed on Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, who sat rigidly at her desk. Her auburn hair was pinned tightly, her uniform immaculate, but her fingers betrayed a tremor as they gripped a pencil. Captain Arthur Hastings lingered by a window, peering into the mist that clung to the barracks like a spectre, while Inspector Harold Jenkins stood at the door, his notepad worn from relentless scribbling. "Mademoiselle Blackwood," Poirot began, his voice soft yet incisive, "you are a woman of intelligence, a signals officer of great skill. Yet you quarrelled with Colonel Hargrove the night he died. A matter of equipment, you say, or something more personal?" Blackwood's hazel eyes met his, steady but guarded. "Monsieur Poirot, it was professional. Hargrove questioned my requisitions, new radio sets, costly ones. He accused me of mismanagement. It was a loud disagreement, yes, but nothing sinister." Poirot's moustache twitched, his cane tapping the floor rhythmically. "And yet, mademoiselle, the safe in his office, it held a letter, threatening to expose an affair. Yours, perhaps? A secret that could ruin a career?" Her face paled, the pencil snapping in her hand. "An affair? That's absurd. Hargrove was a bully, not a lover. I've no such scandal to hide." Hastings interjected, his tone sceptical. The cook says you delivered those Belgian chocolates to his office days before he died. A peace offering, was it? Convenient, given one was laced with cyanide. Blackwood's jaw tightened. I gave him the chocolates to smooth things over after our row. They were unopened, from a London shop. I didn't poison them. I'd never. Poirot leaned closer, his eyes like polished steel. And yet, mademoiselle, a wrapper bore a trace of lipstick, floral, like a lady's scent. Yours, perhaps? She flushed, touching her lips instinctively. I don't wear lipstick, monsieur. You're grasping at straws. Jenkins cleared his throat, holding up a report. We found mismatched footprints outside the office. Women's boots, size 7. Yours, Lieutenant. Blackwood's composure wavered. I was there earlier, inspecting signal lines, but not at the time of death. I was in my quarters, alone after 9. Poirot's gaze drifted to her boots, polished but scuffed at the toes. Alone, you say? A dangerous alibi, mademoiselle, for it lacks witnesses. Tell me, who knew of the Colonel's taste for Belgian chocolates? She hesitated, her voice low. Lady Amelia knew. He boasted about them at dinners. Captain Thorne, too. He ordered them once for a regimental gift. Even Sergeant Kane might have known. He was always snooping. Poirot nodded, filing away her words. The chocolates, they are a key. One missing, poisoned with cyanide. Targeted, precise. A murderer who knew his habits. Leaving the signals room, Poirot led Hastings and Jenkins to the office, where the crime scene remained sealed, its air heavy with the ghost of death. The desk, a mahogany fortress, held the chocolate box, 11 pieces, one conspicuously absent. Poirot sniffed the wrapper again, detecting that floral note. Not Blackwood's, he murmured, but familiar. Lady Amelia, perhaps? Hastings, examining the decanter, frowned. Poirot, what if the poison was in the whiskey? Easier to slip in than a chocolate. No, Hastings, Poirot said sharply. The vial, cyanide, pure and swift. The decanter shows no residue per Jenkins' report. The chocolate, it is the method. Jenkins nodded, flipping through his notes. Lab confirmed it. Cyanide in the chocolate, not the decanter. But the poison source. Armory stores, accessible to all officers, Kane, Thorne, Blackwood, even Lady Amelia could have gotten it. Poirot's eyes gleamed. A web of opportunity, yet only one spun it. We must untangle the motives. They ventured to the armory, where the earlier vial find gnawed at Poirot's mind. The chemical scent lingered, and a locked cabinet caught his attention. Inspector, this cabinet, its contents, they are checked. Medical supplies, Jenkins said. No cyanide officially, but the vial in Kane's locker suggests someone had access. Poirot examined the lock. Simple, easily picked. Anyone could enter, yes, but only a clever mind would leave no trace. Hastings, rifling through a logbook, called out, Poirot, look, a record of Kane signing out cleaning supplies, same day as the murder. Could have hidden the vial then. Possible, Poirot mused, but too obvious. The murderer, they are subtle, planting clues to mislead. Back in the courtyard, the fog thickened, muffling the clatter of soldiers' boots. Poirot paused by the rose garden, where Lady Amelia's glove had been found. The glove, the lipstick, the vial, all point in circles. A pattern emerges, yet eludes. Jenkins reported a new lead. A soldier saw Blackwood near the office at dusk, checking wires, she'd said. But her boots matched the prints. Size 7, though worn by others in the barracks. A red herring? Jenkins asked. Perhaps, Poirot said, or a truth half hidden. As noon approached, they interviewed the maid, Eliza, again. She fidgeted, her eyes darting. Lady Amelia was in the garden, sir, like she said, but I didn't see her the whole time. She sent me to fetch pruning shears, and I was gone, Joe. Bit. Poirot's eyebrows rose. A gap in the alibi, we? And the chocolates. Did your mistress ever handle them? Eliza hesitated, Once, sir. She admired the box when it arrived, said they were too rich for her. A clue or another distraction? Poirot's mind raced, piecing together fragments. The affair mentioned in the safe's letter. Who was Blackwood's lover? Thorne, perhaps, as Hastings suspects. They confronted Thorne briefly in the mess hall. He denied any romance, his face a mask of indignation. Blackwood and I are colleagues, nothing more. Hargroves lies, that's all. But a soldier's whisper suggested otherwise. Saw them talking close, late at night, in the signals room. Looked intimate. Poirot filed it away, his grey cells humming. Love? It complicates, but murder? It clarifies. As evening fell, the barracks grew oppressive, the fog a living shroud. Poirot requested a gathering of the suspects for dinner, a tense affair in the officers' mess. Lady Amelia sat pale and silent. Thorne's hands twitched. Kane glowered. Blackwood avoided eye contact. The air crackled with unspoken accusations. Poirot sipped his wine, his voice calm. Mes amis, the Colonel's death is a puzzle, but the pieces align. The chocolate, poisoned, the vial, wiped clean, the locked door, an illusion. Someone among you knows the truth. Kane slammed his fist on the table. You're barking up the wrong tree, Poirot. I didn't touch him. Lady Amelia's voice trembled. This is torment. Reginald was cruel, but I didn't— Enough, Blackwood cut in, her tone sharp. You're stirring panic, monsieur. Poirot smiled thinly. Panic, no, clarity. Suddenly, a soldier burst in, breathless. Sir, a tip, anonymous. Says Kane was plotting revenge, had cyanide stashed in his bunk. Jenkins led a search of Kane's quarters, finding nothing but a hidden key, brass, like the one in Hargrove's office. A duplicate? Hastings gasped. Kane roared, Not mine, I swear it. Poirot examined the key, its edges worn. Forged, perhaps, or misplaced. The lock, it tells a story. As night deepened, Blackwood approached Poirot privately, her face ashen. Monsieur, I'm scared. Someone's watching me. I heard footsteps outside my quarters last night. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Fear, mademoiselle, is a weapon, but who wields it? They stepped outside, the fog swallowing sound. Footsteps echoed faintly, then faded. Poirot found a cigarette butt, same brand as the towers, near Blackwood's door. No ghost, he murmured, but a shadow, yes. Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The clues, they multiply. Blackwood's boots, Amelia's glove, Kane's key, Thorne's debts. The affair, real or fabricated. The chocolate, it is the heart of it. Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. Poirot, it's a mess. Everyone's got a motive, and the ghost nonsense isn't helping. Non, Hastings, Poirot said sharply. The ghost is theatre, staged to distract. But the poison, it was precise, personal. The lipstick, the scent, they point to a woman, perhaps. Jenkins entered, holding a report. The Armory cyanide, it's standard issue, but the vial's unique, imported, matches the one on the desk. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Imported, like the chocolates. A connection, oui, but whose? As midnight struck, a scream echoed from the signals room. Rushing there, they found Blackwood trembling, pointing to a note slipped under her door. The truth will bury you. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the floral scent lingered. Poirot pocketed the note, his mind racing. The murderer grows desperate, taunting us, but the little grey cells, they are relentless. The barracks fell silent, the fog a silent accomplice. Somewhere, a shadow moved, unseen, as the web of secrets tightened around Ironbridge. Chapter 6. Unravelling Threads. The officers' mess at Ironbridge Barracks, steeped in the gloom of a November evening in 1932, was a battlefield of tension. The gas lamps flickered, casting jagged shadows across the polished tables where Hercule Poirot stood, his diminutive frame radiating authority. His moustache, a perfect crescent, quivered as he surveyed the gathered suspects. Lady Amelia Hargrove, pale in her mourning black, Captain Elias Thorne, rigid as a bayonet, Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, her eyes darting like a cornered deer, and Sergeant Major Victor Kane, his scarred fists clenched. Captain Arthur Hastings leaned against a wall, his face a map of frustration, while Inspector Harold Jenkins clutched his notepad, its pages nearly full. Poirot raised a gloved hand, silencing the room. Mes amis, the murder of Colonel Hargrove is a tapestry of deception, woven with care. The locked door, the poisoned chocolate, the wiped vial, these are threads, and tonight we begin to unravel them. His voice, soft yet commanding, held the weight of inevitability. He paced, his cane tapping rhythmically. The key, found in Monsieur Kane's quarters. A duplicate, oui? It suggests entry to the locked office, yet the original lay under the Colonel's hand. A paradox, no? Kane's voice was a growl. That key's not mine. Someone planted it. Thorne, maybe, to shift blame. Thorne's eyes flashed. Watch your tongue, Kane. I was drilling troops, not skulking about. Lady Amelia's handkerchief fluttered. Reginald had enemies abroad, perhaps a spy, a foreign plot. Poirot's smile was thin. No, madame. The crime is local, intimate. The chocolates, Belgian, rare in these parts. Who imported them? Who knew the Colonel's taste? Thorne shifted uncomfortably. I ordered them months ago, for a regimental gift. Hargrove liked them. Kept some for himself. A gift? Poirot mused, yet one was poisoned. A coincidence, Captain. His eyes flicked to Blackwood. Mademoiselle, you delivered these chocolates, oui? A peace offering, you claimed? Blackwood nodded, her voice tight. Unopened, from London. I didn't tamper with them. Hastings interjected. What about the lipstick on the wrapper? Floral, like Lady Amelia's perfume. Amelia's hand froze mid-dab. I told you, I never touched those chocolates. Poirot's gaze drifted to the window, where fog pressed like a spectre. The clues, they circle. The glove, the key, the lipstick. But let us consider the poison, cyanide, swift and merciless. The lab confirms it was in the chocolate, not the decanter. Administered when, mes amis? The Colonel died between 9 and 10, yet the poison acts in minutes, a puzzle. Jenkins flipped through his notes. We checked the armory stores. Cyanide's there, but no record of who took it. Any officer could have. Poirot nodded. Opportunity abounds, but motive narrows. Let us revisit the alibis. He turned to Lady Amelia. Madame, you were in the garden, yet your maid's story wavers. A receipt from your plot, poisonous herbs, belladonna among them. A coincidence? Her eyes widened. For tea, monsieur. Medicinal, nothing more. Hastings whispered to Poirot. Belladonna's deadly, but not cyanide. A red herring. Perhaps, Poirot murmured. But the garden, it is near the office window. The glove? Yours, madame? I lose gloves often, she snapped, her composure fraying. You've no proof. Poirot turned to Blackwood. The footprints outside the office, your boots, mademoiselle, yet you claim to be elsewhere. And the affair in the safe's letter. With whom? Blackwood's face hardened. No affair. Hargrove fabricated lies to control me. Kane snorted. She's lying. Everyone knows she and Thorne were close, too close. Thorne stood, fists clenched. Enough, Kane. You're the one with a grudge, skulking about that night. Poirot raised a hand. Silence, monsieur. The accusations, they fly like arrows, but miss the mark. Let us consider the supernatural. The ghost of the colonel, seen by Kane, by soldiers. A projector in the tower, a cigarette butt, a note, justice for the sinned against. Theatre, but whose? Jenkins reported. We traced the projector to the signals room, Blackwood's domain. Her eyes flashed. I didn't use it. Someone took it, staged this nonsense to scare us. Poirot's grey cells hummed. A distraction, yes, but also a message. The murderer manipulates fear. He paused, his eyes scanning the group. The poison! It was timed, perhaps ingested earlier. Tea with the colonel, madame. A visit, mademoiselle. Both women paled, their denials overlapping. I had no tea with him, Amelia cried. I was in my quarters, Blackwood echoed. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. The timeline shifts. The colonel ate the chocolate, locked his door, died alone, or so it seems. But the vial, wiped clean, suggests a hand that planned. Jenkins interrupted, holding a report. The lab found residue in the decanter, not cyanide, but a sedative. Slow acting, could have delayed the poison's effect. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Mon Dieu! A sedative to mask the cyanide's speed. The murderer, their system, are cunning, ensuring the poison took effect later. The room fell silent, each suspect shifting uneasily. Poirot continued. This changes the puzzle. The colonel was drowsy, perhaps, when the cyanide struck. Hastings, frustrated, whispered, Poirot, it's a maze. Kane's key, Amelia's glove, Blackwood's boots, Thorne's debts. Everyone's tangled. Oui, Hastings, Poirot said softly, but one thread leads to the truth. The sedative. It points to premeditation. As dinner ended, Jenkins arrested Thorne on circumstantial evidence. The forged note, his debts. Poirot halted him. No, Inspector, the evidence. It is too neat. The true killer watches, waiting. Thorne's eyes widened. You believe me? I believe in truth, Poirot replied, and it is close. As the suspects dispersed, Poirot lingered, examining the dagger from the previous night. No prints as expected. A warning, he murmured, or a mistake. Outside, a storm gathered, thunder rumbling in the distance. Poirot stepped into the courtyard, where lightning illuminated a silhouette by the office window. Watching. The murderer grows bold, he whispered to Hastings. They pursued, but the figure vanished into the fog, leaving only a floral-scented handkerchief, embroidered A.H. Hastings gasped, Lady Amelia! Or a plant, Poirot said, pocketing it. The web tightens. Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The sedative, the chocolate, the key, all planned. The ghost, the dagger, the notes, all distractions. But the lipstick, the scent, they point to a woman. Jenkins entered, holding a new report. The handkerchief silk, matches Lady Amelia's, and the sedatives from the armory, accessible to all. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The net closes, but the spider is clever. Tomorrow we set a trap. As midnight struck, the storm broke, rain lashing the windows. A distant cry echoed, a soldier claiming to see the ghost again. Poirot smiled grimly. Theatre, Hastings, but the curtain, it rises. The barracks sank into silence, the fog a silent accomplice, as the shadow of truth loomed closer, its form still veiled. Chapter 7. False Accusations. The officers' mess at Ironbridge Barracks, cloaked in the dim glow of gas lamps, hummed with unease as the November evening of 1932 deepened. The storm outside battered the windows, its thunder a grim underscore to the tension within. Hercule Poirot stood at the head of a long table, his polished shoes reflecting the flickering light, his moustache a perfect arc of determination. The suspects, Lady Amelia Hargrove, Captain Elias Thorne, Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, and Sergeant Major Victor Kane, sat in uneasy silence, their faces etched with suspicion. Captain Arthur Hastings paced near the hearth, his frustration palpable, while Inspector Harold Jenkins clutched his notepad, its pages nearly exhausted. Poirot's voice cut through the room's oppressive air, calm yet piercing. Mes amis, the murder of Colonel Hargrove grows clearer, yet more complex. The poisoned chocolate, the wiped vial, the locked door, these are not mere accidents. The sedative in the decanter, it delays the cyanide's effect, a masterstroke of cunning. Tonight, we sift truth from lies. He turned to Thorne, recently released from suspicion due to a corroborated alibi from a late-arriving witness. Captain, your debts, they were a motive, oui? Yet your alibi holds. Soldiers confirm you were drilling until 10. But the forged note in your desk in Hargrove's hand, it was meant to ensnare you. Thorne's jaw tightened, his eyes cold. I told you, Poirot, someone's framing me. Kane, likely. He's got the temper for it. Kane surged to his feet, his scarred fists clenched. Watch it, Thorne. I hated Hargrove, but I didn't poison him. That key in my locker, planted, same as your note. Poirot raised a hand, silencing them. Enough, monsieur. The accusations, they fly like sparrows, but we seek a hawk. Madame Hargrove, let us return to you. His gaze fixed on Lady Amelia, her black mourning silk stark against her pale face. The handkerchief by the office, embroidered A.H., yours, no? Her hand trembled, clutching her lace handkerchief. I've lost many, monsieur. It proves nothing. You torment me with these questions. Poirot's eyes narrowed, noting a fresh bruise on her neck, half hidden by a scarf. And the herbs in your garden, belladonna, a poison, though not cyanide. A coincidence, perhaps. For tea, she snapped, her voice cracking. Medicinal, as I said. You've no evidence. Hastings whispered to Poirot. She's rattled, but belladonna's a red herring. Cyanides are poison. Oui, Hastings, Poirot murmured. But the garden, it is too close to the office window. The glove, the handkerchief, they point to her, yet too neatly. Jenkins interjected, holding a report. We interviewed a soldier, Private Gibbs. He saw Lady Amelia near the armory 2 days before the murder, lingering by the medical cabinet. Amelia's eyes widened. I was fetching bandages for a cut. This is persecution. Poirot's cane tapped rhythmically. Persecution? Non. Observation. Let us turn to Mademoiselle Blackwood. He faced the signals officer, whose poised demeanour masked a flicker of fear. The letter in the safe, an affair threatened with exposure. You deny it, yet your boots match the footprints outside the office. Blackwood's voice was steady but strained. I told you, Hargrove fabricated lies to control me. Those footprints, I was checking signal lines earlier, not at 9. And the affair? Nonsense. He wanted my compliance on equipment budgets, nothing more. Poirot's gaze lingered on her sleeve, where a faint floral scent clung, similar to Amelia's perfume. And the chocolates, mademoiselle. You delivered them, knowing his taste. A wrapper bore lipstick. Yours, perhaps? I don't wear lipstick, she retorted, her cheeks flushing. You're chasing shadows. Jenkins flipped through his notes. The lab analysed the wrapper. Lipstick, yes, but no match to Blackwood. The scent, though, matches Lady Amelia's perfume. Amelia gasped. Impossible! I never touched those chocolates. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. The clues, they dance. The sedative, the cyanide, the key, all planned with precision. But the distractions, the ghost, the dagger, the notes, they muddy the waters. Hastings, growing impatient, whispered, Poirot, it's a mess. Kane's key, Amelia's handkerchief, Blackwood's boots, Thorne's note, everyone's guilty or no one is. Non, Hastings, Poirot said sharply. One is guilty. The others, they are pawns in a clever game. They ventured to the office, where the crime scene remained sealed, its air heavy with secrets. Poirot re-examined the safe's contents. Blackmail letters. One to Blackwood about an affair, another to Kane about a wartime theft, a third to Thorne about debts. Hargrove he controlled through fear, Poirot said. But who turned that fear against him? Jenkins reported a new find, a soldier's testimony that Kane had threatened Hargrove openly days before the murder. Said he'd settle the score, Jenkins noted, but his alibi, armory duty, backed by 2 guards, holds, though their timing's shaky. Poirot nodded. The alibis, they waver like reeds. Let us test them further. They questioned the guards again. Corporal Davies swore Kane was in the armory until midnight, but Private Holt admitted his watch was slow, blurring the timeline. Kane stepped out for a smoke, Holt said, but he was back quick. A smoke, Poirot mused, near the office window where the glove was found. Convenient, no? Returning to the courtyard, the storm's rain lashed the cobblestones, the fog a suffocating veil. Poirot paused by the rose garden, where Amelia's herbs grew. Belladonna, not cyanide, yet a clue. The murderer sows confusion. Jenkins held up a lab report. The sedative in the decanter, it's a common barbiturate from the armory's medical stores. Anyone could have taken it. Poirot's eyes gleamed. A sedative to delay, a cyanide to kill. The chocolate, it was eaten earlier, perhaps at tea hours before the door was locked. Hastings frowned. But the vial, Poirot, placed on the desk, wiped. Clean. Why? A stage, Poirot said. The murderer crafted a suicide, yet left no prints, a contradiction. As night deepened, a soldier reported a break-in at the office. Documents from the safe, stolen. Poirot led a chase through the barracks, the storm's roar masking footsteps. The culprit escaped, but near the gate they found a dropped handkerchief, another AH, embroidered in silk. Lady Amelia again, Hastings gasped. Or a double bluff, Poirot said, pocketing it. The murderer repeats their tricks. Back in the office, Poirot examined the safe. Fingerprints wiped, except one smudge, unidentifiable. The thief was careful, he murmured, but careless in haste. He reconstructed the crime. Hargrove ate the poisoned chocolate, perhaps at tea with a visitor. The sedative slowed his senses, delaying death. He locked his door, died alone, or so it appeared. The vial, placed later, suggested suicide, but its cleanliness betrayed a killer. Hastings suggested, what if Amelia slipped in, poisoned the chocolate, and left him to lock the door? Possible, Poirot said, but the key, unique, per the quartermaster. How did she enter, exit, and lock it? Jenkins reported a new lead. A maid saw Amelia with a jeweller weeks prior, discussing a special key. A duplicate? Jenkins asked. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The key, it is the heart. If forged, it unlocks the mystery. As midnight approached, Poirot gathered the suspects again, this time in the drawing room. The storm raged outside, lightning illuminating their strained faces. Mes amis, Poirot said, the clues align. The handkerchief, the sedative, the key, they point to one among you. Amelia's voice trembled. You accuse me, monsieur. I loved Reginald, despite his cruelty. Kane snorted. She's lying. That bruise, she's no victim. Blackwood's eyes flashed. Enough, Kane. You're no saint yourself. Thorne remained silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. Poirot raised a hand. The truth, it emerges, but one final piece eludes. A scream pierced the night, from the signals room. Rushing there, they found Blackwood, trembling, pointing to a broken window. Someone was here, watching me. Poirot examined the glass. No footprints outside, but a floral scent lingered. "The murderer grows desperate," he said, "taunting us with shadows." Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The handkerchiefs, the lipstick, the key, all point to Lady Amelia, yet too perfectly. The sedative, the chocolate, they suggest planning. The ghost, the break-in, they distract. Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. "Poirot, it's her, isn't it? Amelia's the only one who fits." "No, Hastings," Poirot said sharply. "The fit is too neat. The murderer, they wish us to see her. Tomorrow we set a trap." Jenkins entered, holding a soldier's report. A witness saw Amelia, near the office at dusk, not gardening. "Her alibi's crumbling," he said. Poirot nodded. "The net closes, but the spider is clever. We must be cleverer." As the storm roared, a shadow moved outside, unseen, leaving only the rustle of silk in the rain. The barracks held its breath, the truth inching closer, yet veiled in fog. Chapter 8. The Gathering Storm. The parade ground of Ironbridge Barracks lay desolate, under a November sky in 1932, the fog a heavy shroud that swallowed sound and sight. Rain from the previous night's storm dripped from the eaves, pooling on the cobblestones like tears. Hercule Poirot stood alone, his Homburg hat tilted against the damp, his cane sinking slightly into the wet earth. His grey cells churned, piecing together the mosaic of clues. The poisoned chocolate, the wiped vial, the duplicate key, the sedative-laced decanter. The murder of Colonel Reginald Hargrove was a puzzle of exquisite cunning, and Poirot felt the truth tantalizingly close. Captain Arthur Hastings joined him, his face etched with exhaustion, while Inspector Harold Jenkins trailed behind, clutching a rain-sodden notepad. "Monsieur Poirot," Jenkins began, his voice hoarse, "we've got more on Lady Amelia. A soldier saw her near the armory again, same day as the cyanide vial was likely taken. And that handkerchief, silk, embroidered AH, it's hers, no question." Poirot's moustache twitched, his eyes gleaming like polished agates. "The evidence, it mounts, Inspector. Yet it is too perfect, non? The handkerchief, the glove, the perfume, they point to Madame Hargrove with the precision of a stage play." Hastings shivered, pulling his coat tighter. "Poirot, you're saying it's a set-up. But who else fits? Her alibi's shaky. She had access to the herbs, and that bruise. Hargrove was no saint to her." "Oui, Hastings," Poirot said softly, "but the fit, it is too neat. The murderer, they wish us to see her guilt. Let us proceed with care." They moved to the officers' mess, where the suspects, Lady Amelia Hargrove, Captain Elias Thorne, Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, and Sergeant Major Victor Kane, awaited, summoned for another interrogation. The room, warmed by a crackling fire, felt stifling, the air thick with suspicion. Lady Amelia sat rigidly, her black mourning silk stark against her pale face, her hands twisting a lace handkerchief. Thorne, his uniform crisp, stared at the floor, his jaw tight. Blackwood's fingers tapped nervously on her teacup, while Kane's scarred knuckles flexed, his glare defiant. Poirot paced, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm. "Mes amis, the threads of this crime tighten. The poison, cyanide in a Belgian chocolate, laced with a sedative to delay death. The door, locked, yet a duplicate key exists. The handkerchief, the glove, the lipstick, they point to one, yet perhaps accuse another." He turned to Lady Amelia, his voice gentle but incisive. "Madam, the handkerchief, a H, found near the office. Yours, you admit, yet claim it was lost. And the jeweller, he confirms you commissioned a key, a duplicate perhaps?" Amelia's eyes flashed, her voice trembling. I told you, I lose handkerchiefs. And the key, it was for a jewellery box, not his office. You twist everything, monsieur, Jenkins interjected, holding a report. The maid, Eliza, says she saw you with the chocolate box when it arrived, admiring it. You said it was too rich for you, but you handled it. Amelia's hand flew to her throat. I admired it, yes, but I didn't touch the chocolates. This is madness. Poirot's gaze shifted to Blackwood. Mademoiselle, your boots, size 7, matching the prints outside the office. Yet you claim to be elsewhere. And the lipstick on the wrapper, floral, like Madame's perfume, yet you delivered the chocolates. Blackwood's face hardened. I told you, I don't wear lipstick. And I was checking signal lines earlier, not at 9. Someone's framing me, just like Kane. Kane snorted, his voice a growl. Don't drag me into this, Blackwood. That key in my locker, planted. I was in the armory, not skulking around. Thorne, silent until now, spoke coldly. You're all dodging the truth. Hargrove was a tyrant. Any of us had reason to hate him. But I was drilling troops. Alibi solid. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Solid, yet not unbreakable, Captain. A soldier saw you slip away for 10 minutes. Enough time, perhaps, to visit the office. Thorne's fists clenched. A lavatory break, nothing more. Hastings whispered to Poirot. They're all pointing fingers, but Amelia's the only one with physical clues. Handkerchief, glove, perfume. We, Hastings, Poirot murmured. But the clues, they are too convenient. The murderer, they orchestrate a symphony of suspicion. They left the mess for the office, where the crime scene remained sealed, its air heavy with secrets. Poirot re-examined the chocolate box, noting the floral-scented wrapper. The lipstick, it is not Blackwood's, yet matches Amelia's scent. A deliberate plant or a careless mistake? Jenkins reported a new find. A lab analysis of the sedative, barbiturate from the armory, accessible to all officers. No fingerprints on the decanter, he said, just like the vial. Poirot nodded. The murderer, they are meticulous. The sedative delayed death, allowing the colonel to lock his door, creating the illusion of suicide. But the vial, placed later, wiped clean, betrays a killer. They ventured to the armory, where the chemical scent lingered. Poirot examined the medical cabinet, its lock intact but simple. Anyone could access it, he said, yet only one used it. Hastings, flipping through an armory log, called out, Poirot! Look, Kane signed out cleaning supplies the day before the murder. Could have hidden the cyanide then. Kane, summoned, for questioning, roared, I cleaned rifles, not poisoned anyone. That log proves I was working, not scheming. Poirot's cane tapped the floor. Your alibi holds, Monsieur Kane, yet the key in your locker, forged, you say, by whom? Kane's eyes darted to Blackwood. Her, maybe. She's got access to everything, signals, supplies, even the projector for that ghost nonsense. Blackwood, questioned next in the signals room, denied it fiercely. I didn't stage anything. That projector was stolen from my stores. Someone's using it to scare us. Poirot's gaze lingered on her sleeve, where a faint floral scent clung. The perfume, mademoiselle. It matches Madame Hargrove's. A coincidence? I don't wear perfume, she snapped. You're seeing connections where there are none. As noon approached, Jenkins reported a breakthrough. A soldier confirmed Amelia's alibi was false. Eliza admitted she didn't see her in the garden the whole time, sent to fetch shears for nearly an hour. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The alibi crumbles, yet the evidence, it is too perfect. The handkerchief, the glove, they scream guilt, yet whisper deception. They returned to the courtyard, where the fog had lifted slightly, revealing the barracks' stark walls. Poirot paused by the rose garden, examining the belladonna plants. A red herring, oui, but the garden's proximity to the office. It is no coincidence. Hastings frowned. Poirot. What if Amelia slipped the poison during a visit, left him to lock the door and staged the vial later? Possible, Poirot said, but the key, unique, yet a duplicate exists. How did she lock it from outside? Jenkins held up a new report. The jeweller confirmed Amelia's key was for a special lock, not a jewellery box. Could be the office. Poirot's mind raced. The key, it is the heart. If forged, it unlocks the method. As evening fell, Poirot set a trap. A rumour spread that new evidence, a hidden letter, had been found in the safe. He instructed Jenkins to watch the office, hoping to lure the killer. The suspects dined in silence, their eyes avoiding each other. Amelia's hands trembled. Thorne's jaw twitched. Blackwood stared at her plate. Kane glared at the wall. At midnight, a shadow moved toward the office. Jenkins signalled Poirot, who rushed with Hastings. They caught a figure rifling through the safe, Lady Amelia, her face ashen, clutching a forged letter implicating Thorne. Madame! Poirot's voice was a whip-crack. You search for what does not exist. Why? She crumpled, tears streaming. I thought there was proof against me. I didn't kill him, I swear. Poirot's eyes narrowed. The handkerchief, the glove, the key, all yours. Yet you deny. I'm being framed, she sobbed. Someone wants me blamed. Hastings whispered, Poirot, it's her. The evidence is overwhelming. Non, Hastings, Poirot said softly. The evidence is a mask. The true killer hides behind it. They escorted Amelia back to her quarters, her sobs echoing in the fog. Jenkins reported a new find. A soldier saw Blackwood near the tower, adjusting the projector. She's staging the ghost, he said. Poirot shook his head. A distraction, perhaps, but not the murder. The chocolate, the sedative, they point to planning, not pranks. Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The clues, they align. Amelia's handkerchief, Blackwood's boots, Kane's key, Thorne's note. But the method, the sedative, the chocolate, it is intimate, precise. Jenkins entered, holding a lab report. The lipstick, it's Amelia's brand confirmed, but the wrapper's prints, none match her. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The net closes, yet the spider dances. Tomorrow we press harder. As the storm's remnants faded, a shadow lingered outside, unseen, leaving only a faint rustle in the fog. The barracks held its breath, the truth teetering on the edge of revelation. Chapter 9. Deductions in the Dark. The mess hall of Ironbridge Barracks, steeped in the flickering glow of gas lamps, was a crucible of tension on this November evening in 1932. The storm had passed, but a restless unease lingered, as if the fog itself whispered secrets. Hercule Poirot stood at the head of the room, his diminutive frame commanding as a general's, his moustache a perfect crescent of resolve. The suspects, Lady Amelia Hargrove, Captain Elias Thorne, Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, and Sergeant Major Victor Kane, sat around a polished table, their faces pale masks of suspicion. Captain Arthur Hastings leaned against a wall, his arms crossed, while Inspector Harold Jenkins clutched his notepad, its pages brimming with the case's tangled threads. Poirot raised a gloved hand, silencing the room's murmurs. Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Colonel Reginald Hargrove is no longer a shadow. It emerges into light. The poisoned chocolate, the wiped vial, the locked door, the sedative, these are not mere clues, but a symphony of deception. Tonight, the little grey cells unveil the truth. His voice, calm yet incisive, held the weight of inevitability. Let us reconstruct. The colonel died between 9 and 10, cyanide in a Belgian chocolate, laced with a sedative to delay death. The door, locked from within, the key beneath his hand, yet a duplicate exists, found in Monsieur Kane's locker. Kane's fists clenched, his voice a growl. "That key's not mine! Planted, I tell you!" Poirot's eyes gleamed, undeterred. "Patience, monsieur. The key, it is central. The office, sealed, suggests suicide, yet the vial, wiped clean, betrays a killer. The sedative, found in the decanter, slowed the colonel's senses, allowing him to lock his door before death. A clever ruse." He turned to Lady Amelia, her black mourning silk stark against her ashen face. "Madam, the handkerchief A.H. found near the office, the glove muddied in your garden, the lipstick on the chocolate wrapper matching your perfume, and the jeweller, he confirms a key commissioned by you. A duplicate, no?" Amelia's hands trembled, her handkerchief crumpling. "I told you, monsieur, I lose handkerchiefs. The key was for a jewellery box. I'm being framed." Hastings whispered to Jenkins. "She's crumbling. Poirot's got her." Poirot's gaze shifted to Blackwood, her poised demeanour fraying. "Mademoiselle, your boots, size 7, matching the footprints outside the office. You delivered the chocolates, knew his taste." And the safe's letter, an affair, threatened with exposure. "With whom?" Blackwood's eyes flashed. "No affair. Hargrove lied to control me. Budget disputes, nothing more. And the boots, others wear my size." Poirot nodded, his cane tapping rhythmically. "The affair, it is a shadow, perhaps. But the lipstick, the footprints, they point to a woman." His eyes flicked to Amelia. "Or to one who wishes us to see a woman." Thorne, silent until now, spoke coldly. "You're circling, Poirot. Kane's the one with the grudge. His notebook's full of threats." Kane surged to his feet. "Lies! I hated Hargrove, but I was in the armory. Guards saw me," Jenkins interjected, holding a report. "The guard's timing is off. Holt's watch was slow. Kane could have slipped out." Poirot raised a hand. "Enough! The alibis, they waver, but the clues, they align. The sedative, the cyanide, the key, they speak of planning. The ghost, the dagger, the notes, they distract. But the chocolate, it is the heart." He paced, his voice rising. "Consider the method. The colonel ate the poisoned chocolate, perhaps at tea, hours before death. The sedative slowed his heart, delayed the cyanide's effect. He locked his door, died alone, or so it appears. The vial, placed later, suggests suicide, but its cleanliness betrays a killer." Hastings frowned. "But the key, Poirot. How did the killer lock the door from outside?" Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A question, oui. The duplicate key, forged perhaps by Madame Hargrove, per the jeweller. She enters, places the vial, exits, and locks it. No, impossible. The key was inside." Jenkins flipped through his notes. "The quartermaster swears no duplicates exist. The lock's unique." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "Then we rethink the lock. A trick, perhaps. A string. A magnet. No, too crude. The truth is simpler." He turned to Amelia. "Madame, you visited the colonel that afternoon, oui? Tea, perhaps, where the chocolate was offered." Her face paled. We had tea, yes, but I didn't give him chocolates. He ate one himself from the box." Poirot nodded. "And you, Mademoiselle Blackwood, delivered that box. One chocolate, marked subtly, poisoned. Who marked it?" Blackwood's voice trembled. "I didn't. I swear they were unopened." Poirot's gaze drifted to the window, where fog pressed like a spectre. "The clues, they converge. The handkerchief, the glove, the lipstick, they point to Madame. The boots, the projector, they suggest Mademoiselle. The key, the threats, they accuse Monsieur Kane. Yet the forged note implicates Monsieur Thorne. A web spun to confuse." He paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. But the little grey cells, they see through. The murderer is Lady Amelia Hargrove. Gasps echoed, Amelia's sob breaking the silence. No, I loved him, despite his cruelty. I'm innocent. Poirot raised a hand. Madame, the evidence speaks. The jeweller's key, your perfume, the handkerchief, all yours. You visited at tea, offered the chocolate, laced with sedative and cyanide. You left, he locked the door, died later. The vial you placed earlier, wiped clean to suggest suicide. Amelia's tears streamed. You're wrong. Someone's framing me. Hastings whispered, Poirot, it fits, but the key, how did she lock it? Poirot's eyes gleamed. The key, it was never moved. The Colonel locked the door himself, after tea. The poison, timed perfectly, killed him alone. The vial, a prop placed during an earlier visit, Jenkins interjected. But the footprints, Blackwood's boots? A misdirection, Poirot said. Madame borrowed them, per the maid. The lipstick, her own, left carelessly on the wrapper. Blackwood gasped. You think I helped her? No, Poirot said. You were unwitting. The chocolates, your gift, were tampered with by another. Kane snorted. What about me? That key in my locker? Planted, Poirot said, to divert suspicion. The murderer, they are thorough. Amelia's voice rose, desperate. I didn't. Reginald beat me, controlled me, but I didn't kill him. Poirot's gaze softened, but his voice was firm. Madame, your bruise, your fear, they are real. But the evidence, it is relentless. The jeweller, the maid, the scent, they betray you. Jenkins stepped forward, handcuffs ready. Lady Hargrove, you're under arrest. She collapsed sobbing as Jenkins led her away. The room fell silent, the suspect stunned. Thorne's face was grim, Blackwood's ashen, Kane's defiant. Hastings whispered, Poirot, are you sure? It feels too neat. Poirot's smile was grim. No, Hastings. The truth, it is never neat, but it is certain. Yet one doubt lingers. He paused, his grey cells churning. The affair in the letter, not with Thorne, as we thought. A deeper secret, perhaps. Mademoiselle Blackwood, you deny it, yet the safe's letter speaks. Blackwood's eyes widened. It's a lie. Hargrove fabricated it. Poirot nodded. Perhaps, but the truth, it will emerge. As the suspects dispersed, Poirot lingered, examining the dagger from earlier. No prints, as expected. A warning, he murmured, or a mistake. Outside, the fog lifted slightly, revealing the barracks' stark walls. Poirot stepped into the courtyard, where a soldier reported another ghost sighting, near the tower, in a greatcoat. Theatre, Poirot said, but the play is ending. Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook open. The clues, they align. Amelia's handkerchief, her perfume, her key, the sedative, the cyanide, her plan, the ghost, the notes, her distractions. Yet the affair, it nags. Jenkins entered holding a report. The maid confirmed Amelia borrowed Blackwood's boots days before, and the jeweller, he swears the key was for a lock like the office's. Poirot nodded. The net closes. But the affair, whose? Not Thorne, not Kane, a woman perhaps. Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. Poirot, you've got her. Why chase ghosts? No, Hastings, Poirot said sharply. The truth, it is a shadow. We have the murderer, but the motive it deepens. As midnight struck, a distant cry echoed, a soldier spooked by the fog. Poirot closed his notebook, his mind racing. The curtain falls, but one act remains. The barracks settled into silence, the fog a silent accomplice, as the truth stood poised, ready to unveil its final twist. Chapter 10. The Final Revelation. The officers' mess at Ironbridge Barracks, bathed in the dim glow of gas lamps, was a stage set for resolution on this fog-laden November evening in 1932. The air, heavy with the scent of polished wood and fading tension, hummed with anticipation. Hercule Poirot stood at the centre, his diminutive frame radiating the quiet authority of a maestro before a symphony's climax. His moustache, a perfect crescent, quivered as he surveyed the assembled suspects. Lady Amelia Hargrove, her face pale beneath her mourning veil. Captain Elias Thorne, rigid and wary. Lieutenant Sophia Blackwood, her eyes sharp yet haunted, and Sergeant Major Victor Kane, his scarred fists clenched. Captain Arthur Hastings stood by the hearth, his expression a mix of awe and impatience, while Inspector Harold Jenkins gripped his notepad. Its pages a chronicle of the case's twists. Poirot raised a gloved hand, silencing the room's murmurs. Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Colonel Reginald Hargrove is a puzzle no longer. The poisoned chocolate, the wiped vial, the locked door, the sedative, these are not mere clues, but a tapestry woven with cunning. Tonight, the little grey cells unveil the murderer. His voice, calm yet resonant, held the weight of truth. Let us reconstruct. The colonel died between 9 and 10, cyanide in a Belgian chocolate, laced with a sedative to delay death. The door locked from within, the key beneath his hand, yet a duplicate key found in Monsieur Kane's locker suggests entry. The handkerchief, the glove, the lipstick, they point to Madame Hargrove. But the truth, it is deeper. He turned to Lady Amelia, her eyes wide with fear. Madam, you have protested your innocence, yet the evidence mounts. The jeweller's key, your perfume on the chocolate wrapper, the handkerchief, A.H., near the office. You visited the colonel at tea, oui? A moment of reconciliation, perhaps? Amelia's voice trembled, her handkerchief crumpling. Yes, we had tea, but I didn't poison him. I loved him despite his cruelty. Poirot's gaze softened, but his tone was firm. Love, madame, can breed desperation. The bruise on your neck, the fear in your eyes, they tell of a marriage marred by control. The safe's letters, blackmail, threatening exposure, but not of an affair as we thought. He turned to Blackwood, her face ashen. Mademoiselle, the letter suggested an affair, yet you deny it. A lie by Hargrove, oui, but for what? To control you, perhaps, over Signal's budgets? Blackwood nodded, her voice tight. He fabricated it to force my compliance. I had no lover. Poirot's eyes gleamed. No, mademoiselle, the affair was not yours. It was Madame Hargrove's, a secret deeper than we knew. Gasps rippled through the room. Amelia's sob broke the silence. No, that's a lie. Poirot raised a hand. Patience, madame. Let us unravel the method. The chocolate, one marked subtly, was poisoned with cyanide and a sedative. You, madame, offered it at tea, knowing his taste. The sedative slowed his senses. The cyanide killed later. He locked his door, died alone, or so it appeared. The vial, wiped clean, was placed earlier, suggesting suicide. Amelia's tears streamed. I didn't. Someone framed me. The handkerchief, the glove. Poirot nodded. Oui, the clues, they are too perfect. The handkerchief, the glove, the lipstick, they scream your guilt, yet whisper deception. The little grey cells, they question. Why so obvious? He turned to the group. The ghost sightings, the dagger, the notes, justice for the sinned against, they are theatre, staged to distract. The projector in the tower, Mademoiselle Blackwood's domain, yet she denies its use. The cigarette butts, the floral scent, they point to a woman, but not you. Blackwood's eyes widened. Then who? Poirot's voice rose, dramatic and sure. The murderer is Lady Amelia Hargrove. Amelia collapsed into her chair, sobbing. No, I swear I didn't kill him. Poirot's gaze was relentless. Madam, the evidence is clear. The jeweller confirms the duplicate key for the office, not a jewellery box. The maid saw you borrow Blackwood's boots, leaving those footprints, the lipstick your brand on the wrapper, The perfume, yours on the handkerchief. You visited at tea, offered the poisoned chocolate, left him to lock his door. The vial placed earlier was your stage prop. Jenkins stepped forward, handcuffs gleaming. Lady Hargrove, you're under arrest. Hastings whispered, Poirot, it fits, but the affair. What's the truth? Poirot's eyes gleamed. A moment, Hastings. The safe's letter. It spoke of an affair, but not Blackwood's. Madame, your secret was with another officer, not Thorne, not Kane, a woman. Amelia's sob choked off, her eyes wide with shock. How did you know? The room froze. Blackwood's face drained of colour. Thorne's jaw dropped. Kane's fists unclenched, stunned. Poirot continued, his voice soft but piercing. The floral scent, it lingered on Blackwood's sleeve. Not from you, madame, but from proximity. The letter's threat was not about budgets, mademoiselle, but about a forbidden love in this era's shadows. You and Madame Hargrove, your liaison. It was Hargrove's leverage. Blackwood's voice was a whisper. He found out, threatened to expose us, ruin us both. Amelia nodded, tears falling. He was cruel, controlling. I endured for the estate, but he used our love against us. I had to stop him. Poirot's gaze softened. And so, madame, you planned. The chocolate, a gift you knew he'd take. The sedative, to delay death. The key, forged to enter later, placing the vial. The glove, the handkerchief, your mistakes, or deliberate to confuse. Amelia's voice broke. I didn't mean to leave them. I was desperate. He'd destroy us. Poirot turned to Blackwood. Mademoiselle, you were unwitting. The boots, borrowed by Madame. The chocolates, your gift, tampered by her. The projector, you used it, to stage the ghost, to scare others away. Blackwood nodded, her voice faint. I wanted to protect her. I didn't know she'd kill him. Kane's voice rumbled. What about me? That key in my locker? Planted, Poirot said, by Madame, to divert suspicion. The forged note in Thorne's desk, another of her ruses. Thorne's eyes narrowed. So I was a pawn? Oui, Captain, Poirot said. Your debts, a convenient distraction. The murderer used everyone. Jenkins, securing Amelia's wrists, paused. The motive, monsieur? It was love? Love and survival, Poirot said. Madame Hargrove, trapped in a cruel marriage, sought freedom. The estate, the inheritance, it was her escape, but the affair, it was her heart. Amelia's voice was a whisper. He deserved it, monsieur. He beat me, controlled me. I wanted freedom for us. Poirot nodded, his voice gentle. Justice, madame, but not vengeance. The law, it will judge. As Jenkins led Amelia away, the room fell silent, the weight of truth settling like dust. Thorne's shoulders sagged. Blackwood's eyes glistened. Kane stared at the floor, his anger spent. Hastings whispered, Poirot, you knew about the affair. How? The grey cells, Hastings, Poirot said softly. The scent, the glances, the letter's wording, it spoke of a love society would not accept. The clues, they aligned, but the heart, it revealed the truth. They stepped into the courtyard, where the fog had lifted, revealing the barracks' stark walls under a cold moon. A soldier approached, reporting no further ghost sightings. The theatre ends, Poirot murmured, with the curtains fall. Back in their quarters, Poirot sat by the fire, his notebook closed. The case, it is solved. The chocolate, the key, the sedative, all Madame Hargrove's. The ghost, the notes, her distractions, aided by Blackwood's loyalty. Jenkins entered, holding a final report. The jeweller's testimony seals it. Amelia's key was for the office lock, and the maid confirmed she saw her with the chocolate box, marking one piece. Poirot nodded. The truth, it is complete. Yet the heart, It aches for those caught in love's shadow. Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. "Poirot, you've done it again, but that affair, it's a scandal." "No, Hastings," Poirot said sharply. "It is human. In another time, perhaps their love would be free. But here it led to murder." As midnight struck, the barracks settled into silence, the fog of fading memory. Poirot rose, adjusting his hat. "Come, Hastings, the train to London awaits. Another victory for the little grey cells." They stepped into the night, the barracks gates creaking shut behind them. A shadow lingered in the tower, unseen, but the mystery was solved, the truth laid bare in the cold light of justice.